other return.
If I could have the camera, please. Thank you, Don. We'll call the Lincoln Park City Council meeting of January 22nd, 2019 to order. If everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be immediately followed by the invocation by Reverend Joe Salazar of Christ Family Church. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to ask everybody bow their heads, please. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Heavenly Father, we come to you in the mighty name of your Son, Jesus Christ. And Lord, today, we ask that we pray for a family, a couple families, Lord, longtime residents of Lincoln Park, Robert Duncan, former police chief, passed at the age of 93. Lucille Stroh, who worked at the Historical Museum. Lord, we pray for the family that you give them peace, that you comfort their families, Lord. Lord, we are here today. All the servicemen who serve for our country and are serving, for the policemen, the firemen, everybody that serves this city, council, and the mayor. And Lord, that you be with them today and give them encouragement, give them wisdom, and the decisions that they have to make, Lord, the hard decisions that they make to keep our city running every day. In Jesus' name we pray. And everybody said, amen.
Thank you, Reverend. You had to travel a little bit of distance in order to be with us tonight. We appreciate that. If we could have roll call, please.
Councilpersons Breeding,
Present.
Higgins, Kelsey,
Here.
Parkinson,
Here.
Ross, Salcido,
Here.
and Mayor Carnes.
Here. All right, good evening, everyone, once again. As the Reverend said, Chief Robert Duncan passed recently. Had actually served as chief before I became a police officer, so he made the most out of our retirement system. His son retired as a police lieutenant and is still in town. But Chief Duncan was a very special person. He served on the submarine during World War II and just had the respect of all of his co-workers and citizens. So he was a very admirable guy. And then Lucille Stroh, who served at the Historical Museum as president, off and on, but always there, always with a smile, and she will be missed on that, definitely. And we have a public hearing coming up on the 28th of this month. It will be in this building at 6:30, and the public hearing is on marijuana, whether we want to continue to opt out or we want to have relook at if we want to opt in, and that's the basic for what that is going to be. So if you have an opinion either way, we ask that you come down and voice it at that particular time. There is something going on around on Facebook, as there normally is, but this one had to do with a senior citizen that had been victimized by a person who imitated a city worker and gained entry into her home and stole some items. So once again, for you folks, our workers do have IDs, but the water department is usually 99% of the time does not have to have access to your home, and they won't do so. But if you have somebody that comes there and you want to verify it, if it's during the working hours, just call City Hall, 386-1800, and they can do that. If it's after hours, then by all means, you call the police department and have it searched, have it checked out. And if there's any doubt whatsoever, you don't let these people into your home. That's it. I mean, they can come back with, the heavy equipment that shows that they are the workers. If there's any doubt, don't let strange people into your home without calling and verifying for somebody else. At the Historical Society, on February 9th, which is going to coincide with our chocolate walk in the city, there is going to be a book signing, a History Lover's Guide to Detroit, and Karen Rizko is going to be there talking during that, so it should be interesting. Also, on February 9th, we have the Daddy-Daughter Dance, which will be taking place at the band shell, 3240 Ferris, and that's at 5 p.m., and tickets are on sale at the band shell. They are $10 a piece. So get your daughters down there. This is an event that sells out. It is a nice time, as Doreen can attest. It's all the audience today. And then coming up on February 1st and 2nd is I think it's the third annual Jack Frost Jamboree, at which point there will be vendors inside of the Kennedy Memorial Building, starting from 4 p.m. Friday to 9 p.m., and then Saturday from 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. And there will be cardboard toboggan races, and that has turned out to be quite the race. We hope we have snow this year because we haven't had it for the first 2 years. And as part of an organization that will have a sled going in that, I challenge each and every one of you to also see if you can best me. One of these days, we're going to win this thing, as opposed to, we did finish third last year out of three sleds, but hey, that's just what happens. But whether you participate or you just come to watch it's a nice time, and especially with the vendors inside too. So please, it's well worth your time to come down, and that's on February 1st and 2nd. St. Michael's Church, which is at 1325 Champaign Road, has announced that they have the LA SID South Satellite Office. Now, what this is going to be is it's open from Thursday from 1 to 5, starting on January 17th. And it offers translation services, and it has referral for LA SED and other programs and services, and immigration law consultants with lawyer Crystal Murray Medina from 2 to 5 p.m. So it is, if you know somebody who has issues with either immigrations or translation services, or stop in and see this. This is being offered free, and it's a resource that's available to everyone. All right, and then next to last, Saturday, February 2nd, also at 10 a.m. This is at the Bethel Assembly of God, which is 2984 Fort Street. There's going to be hymns for the homeless. Pastor Karen Butler is going to be performing there at 10 o'clock sharp, and all proceeds from her CD sale or donations will go to the homeless at that. All proceeds benefit ChristNetServices.org. So Saturday morning, you can find yourself busy and go there and then end up at the Jack Frost Jamboree. At the police department, we've had a little bit of a transition. Deputy Chief Joe Lavis retired after 25 years of service, and exemplary service for us, and he will be missed. But filling in his shoes, his new appointment is Lieutenant Rich Klokovich. So we have both Chief Waters and Lieutenant Klokovich, Deputy Chief, I'm sorry. So would you step up to the podium there and just let everybody put a face to the name? Mm-hmm. And he has coffee mugs that are available for sale.
Good evening. I'm Rich Klokovich. I've been with the police department 23 years, and I'm happy to take this opportunity to Phil Joel Avis's footsteps, and I live in the city, and I'm glad to be here.
Very good. Glad to have you.
Thank you.
Alrighty then. Then with that, we will move on to the consent agenda.
Excuse me, I don't know, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but our state senator, Marcia Bullock's here. I don't know if you want to say a few words, and maybe he could, I don't know if he was going to stop by just to
Oh,
say
sure.
hi. Sorry, I didn't know they had talked to you.
Well, greetings, Mayor, Council. Again, I came by to Marshall Bullock, your newly elected state senator representing Lincoln Park, Allen Park, Southgate, and a portion of Detroit. As I did on the campaign trail, just wanted to come by and extend my hand of friendship, that you have a friend in Lansing, brought along my chief of staff, Mr. Lawrence, so that we can communicate and have open communication between us. That was one of the concerns with you guys, and I wanted to make sure that I kept up with that. So here I am in January at the first available meeting I can make it to, and I'll be here on a regular for the next 4 years at least, and whatever we can do to help advocate for any of the issues that you're having that the state has a hand in, I will gladly be that advocate for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, anything you knew about our speed limit would be greatly appreciated. Reduction. Thank you for making the visit, Senator. We appreciate that. So consent agenda, once again, resolved that the following items listed on the consent agenda be approved as presented to the mayor and city council. 1, approve minutes, regular meeting held January 7, 2018. 2, accept minutes, study session held January 7, 2019, RE Road Bond. 3, participation residential rehabilitation loan program.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Councilpersons Kelsey,
Yes.
Breeding,
Yes.
Parkinson,
Yes.
Salcido,
Yes.
and Mayor Carnes.
Yes. So here, you need this. All right, first item. Resolved that mayor and council authorize city clerk Carrie Caher to attend the Michigan Association of Municipal Clerks Institute in Mount Pleasant, Michigan from March 10 through March 15, 2019. The cost of the school is $600 and lodging is approximately $400. Meals and mileage will be subject to the travel policy. Funds to come from clerk training account number 101.111.960 and election general expense and travel account number 101.192.860.
So move.
Support.
Discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Councilpersons Breeding,
Yes.
Salcido,
Yes.
Kelsey,
Yes.
Parkinson,
Yes.
and Mayor Carnes.
Yes. Next item has a cover letter from John Kazoo, our Director of Public Services. The Michigan Rural Water Association is holding a hands-on rate study and asset management workshop February 6th and 7th, 2019 at the Lansing Community College West campus in Lansing. This rate study and asset management workshop provides continuing education credits that are necessary for John Kazoo to retain his S license as required by the state of Michigan. So therefore, resolved that the mayor and council authorize John Kazoo to attend the hands-on rate study, including asset management workshop being offered by the Michigan Rural Water Association at Lansing Community College West Campus on February 6th through 7th, 2019. Resolved that the total cost of the class is not to exceed $795, with the funds to come from account number 592-920-960-000 Water Training School.
So move.
Support.
Discussion? Okay, clerk call the roll.
Councilpersons Parkinson,
Yes.
Breeding,
Yes.
Kelsey,
Yes.
Salcido,
Yes.
and Mayor Carnes.
Yes. Next item has a cover letter from Matthew Kopler, our city manager. Recently, the Public Safety Commission affirmed the appointment of Richard Klakovich as the deputy police chief for the city of Lincoln Park. This vote followed a selection process that involved the Public Safety Commission, the chief of police, the city manager, and the mayor. 5 candidates from the Lincoln Park Police Department went through an interview panel and then a secondary interview with the chief. The proposed agreement is nearly identical to the one that the mayor and council approved in January of last year for the now former deputy chief, Joe Lavis. The only change to the contract are the cleanup of some language and elimination of obsolete dates. This agreement will expire at the end of this calendar year to coincide with the expiration of the police chief's agreement. So the resolution is, whereas the city must approve the employment agreement with the deputy police chief, whereas the city manager recommends the adoption of the attached employment agreement with the deputy chief, Richard Klokovich. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council approves the employment agreement by and between the city of Lincoln Park and the deputy police chief, Richard Klokovich. Be it further resolved that the mayor is authorized to execute said employment agreement on behalf of the city of Lincoln Park.
So moved.
Support for discussion.
Okay, sir.
Here's a couple things. With the longevity, did everybody get their longevity back? I remember it was taken away from everybody in the city.
It's consistent with what we did with the 2 police unions.
Does the other, does DPS get it? Does the city hall people get it?
Well, right off the top of my head, I can't remember what the other bargaining units get related to that. I mean, I could check on that and let you know, but I know that the 2 police units do get it.
If, I'm gonna say no if it does not give them that to everybody back.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have those contracts memorized, all the provisions, so.
The in lieu of overtime? When I worked, it was 8 hours overtime and 8 hours pay. This, and I said it before, I told you before, it's 6 hours, 6% in lieu of overtime? No.
No, that's consistent with what we do with all of the department directors.
No. How about no on every one of them?
Is further discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Councilpersons Kelsey,
Yes.
Parkinson,
No.
Breeding,
Yes.
Salcido,
Yes.
and Mayor Carnes.
Yes. Next item has a cover letter also from Mr. Kopler. And pursuant to Section 1, appoint of officers and boards enumerated, officers and members, qualifications, Chapter 4, appointed officers of the city charter, mayor and council must appoint the city finance director, the city department of public services director, and such other officers as provided for in the codified codes. Further, Section 4, compensation fees of that same chapter provides that the mayor and council shall set the compensation for these appointed officers. Their terms are for 2 years, beginning January 1, 2019, expiring December 31st, 2020. The first attached resolution reappoints the following individuals and positions: Lisa Griggs, Director of Finance and Operations; John Kazoo, Director of Department of Public Services; Doreen Christian, Director of Community Development and Parks and Recreation. And the second resolution approves the Administrators Association agreement for that 2-year period. The proposed agreement is similar to last agreement approved in 2017. Changes to the agreement are: 1, wage increase for the 3 individuals being reappointed; 2, inclusion of stipends for obtaining certifications and licenses; 3, increase of vacation leave time for employees with greater than 20 years tenure; and 4, increase from 16 to 24 hours of personal leave time; and 5, cleanup of language to reflect changes made in benefits that were offered to all employees. So the resolution is, whereas the agreement between the city and the Lincoln Park Administration Association expired on January 1, 2019. Both parties wish to enter into a successor agreement, and whereas the city manager has provided recommended agreement for the Lincoln Park Administration Association and mayor and council. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and city council approve the attached Lincoln Park Administration Association agreement, and be it further resolved that the mayor is authorized to execute this agreement on behalf of the city of Lincoln Park. I'll move on this.
I'll second for discussion.
Go ahead, sir.
I see that there's quite a big jump here. I mean, it's got to be more than 4 or 5% jump. I think it's even more than 6%. Some of these, are they in, I guess, in the same realm as the surrounding communities with the same population and all that?
Yeah, so the 3 employees, the Director of Finance and Operations, that's approximately a 10% increase, with the two others, which would be the DPS director and the community development / recreation, being in the neighborhood of 5%. It's not exactly 5%, or close to it if not. As I explained, I know there was a question by a council member earlier, and I sent it out. Starting with the chief's agreements about a year and a half ago now, or a little over a year ago, we started trying to bring our department directors back in line with the surrounding communities. And so as we did with those, we looked around to the downriver communities and did a wage comparison. And actually, I have somewhere here that, if you're interested in taking a look at it, here we go. For two of the three positions, the problem with one of the positions, and that being the community development / recreation, is there really isn't anything like that anyplace else. And so it's kind of hard to do it apples to apples with that. But as you can see, with the finance director, the current wage rate is $64,000 and some change. And the average of those communities that we're able to find, and let me just say that we're one of the few cities that you can easily find what people are getting paid. You spend a lot of time trying to figure out what all these different individuals are getting paid. And so there are some, that I would like to have had on there that we couldn't find accurately. But as you can see, for the finance director, that average is $88,000. And then again, trying to make it apples to apples for the DPS director, there's actually two different numbers there. One is if you take all those communities listed, what that average is. Then the second one is if you take out a couple of the communities that aren't really comparable in terms of what their responsibilities are. So that shows you the two different averages there, and that averages either $78,000 or $77,000, depending on how you look at it. And so we're trying to advance our people not to the top of the pay scale, but get closer to what the average is, because I think one of the things that I've found in other communities when we go to replace a department director is that if you're not in line with what other communities are paying, you don't get a lot of candidates applying for that. So part of what we're doing in this adjustment, and again, the same as with the two chiefs, we're trying to get them more comparable to what the surrounding communities are. So should we have to replace them, we have a good pool of candidates to go for that.
Well, through the chair, the only question I got is, it's a big jump, and if we're going to jump this every couple of years, we're going to be at 30, 40%, depending on how we keep jumping the salary up. That's all I'm getting at. And I know we had talked about before, or I've been involved anyways, about how salaries go. And these are department heads. It's different from the union contracts. I understand that. But there was always an understanding that we would keep the gradual increases all underneath a certain amount to bring it up gradually, because we weren't going to try to just shove a lot of money. I mean, I know when the emergency manager was here, he found out that the finance person was getting a lot less in the communities, and he authorized $10,000, and that was to help bring it up, because that's what, at the time, we had to, not we, the emergency manager did. I'm just wondering, is everything being equal, how far are we going? I know the other communities, but we had just got out of receivership not too long ago.
Yeah, well, so
That's
again,
all I'm at. I'm
yeah,
just kind of
the
concerned
contract
where we're.
doesn't get to the average at all. And again, I think that's one of the things that all of our departments, as well as our union individuals, already recognize, that we're not going to be in the upper percentage of what wages are within the downriver anytime soon. It's going to take time. The further away you are from that, you do have to increase a little bit higher in the first year. And again, the second year, it's a lot smaller increase for all. So, I think realistically where we're at the end of the 2 years, you're not going to see any large adjustments there, just like you're probably not going to see any large adjustments for the chiefs at the end of this year. There will be an increase, hopefully, but it's not going to be what you saw in the first year of any of those agreements.
The reason I was asking, because I know you upped the off days by 8 days too. Didn't you, for the vacation?
Yeah,
So we're adding the fringe benefits a little bit pretty good too, is what I'm getting at. I'm just wondering, in any contract, it's a slow go. I just don't want to get to the point where we get to the fact that we bottom out, so to speak, and then, it's still like, well, it's not enough. I mean, we don't have the income of some of these other communities have, unfortunately, and that's all I'm looking for. And then talking about the Parks and Rec person, she's doing the CDBG now because Cook left. So actually, she's doing two people's job. Is that normal for I mean, I'm just asking because it seems like we consolidate and we're still not, and that's only $1,000 increase over the year. I'm just asking, well, am I right, from
That's a
58 to 59?
5% increase the first year.
From the original one?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we're not, everybody's important and everybody's got a lot of responsibility, but that we're in the scope. And if we said the same thing as the other communities, then I'm sure the council will be getting a lot more money too. And we're not in that boat. We don't, what I'm saying is it's nice to look at that, but, it's the same thing as we're unique to the city we are. We're Lincoln Park and we pay for what we can afford to pay, and that's how we do things. And I was just wondering, that was my comment about how we're going with this, to make sure that we don't get ourselves in a bind, whether we already topped out and, then what do we offer as, quite frankly, as a negotiation tactic to give them more or somehow. And we already gave them, or whatever, the 8 days and everything else. I mean, that's pretty good. And then the 25, I think it's 25 days after 20 years, that's good with a Fortune 500 company for vacation. Because I remember, where I come from, I mean, that's quite good. I mean, what I'm saying is it's no slouch. We're taking care of them as best we can is what I'm getting at.
Right.
So I'm just wondering, I mean, sometimes when you give more fringe benefits, you don't give as much money or vice versa. That's what I was asking. So it just seems like in a short distance, a lot of money, that's all. It's probably not, but it just seems like it. And like I said before, I know that looking at these salaries, there's a lot more that they get paid, but again, these are other communities that, like Woodhaven has a lot more development and industry than we have. We don't have any industry. We don't have the Trenton engine plant or anything here. So I'm just wondering, if is management taking into consideration when we go down the line,
Well, again,
That's all.
we're not looking to move anybody into the upper tier of what is getting paid. We're just trying to get them a little bit closer to what the average is within the downriver.
And then, I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm done. Go ahead.
Through the chair.
Yes.
I brought it up before with Matt, mentioned it to Matt. Could you explain to me the disparity between these three department heads, why one of them is so low, and yet she got added an additional, she was the assistant CDBG director. When Don left, that's all her job was. When Don left, they said, oh, by the way, if you want to keep your job, you're going to take Parks and Rec also. And this is what you're going to get paid. There really was no bargaining. There was no discussion or whatever. And I'm just curious, did you compare any of the surrounding communities as far as what the Parks and Recreation directors make?
So in looking at that, and that, again, is kind of a little bit of, that position is hard to compare into any way, into any of the downriver communities, because if you look at it from a community development standpoint, most of the community development departments have planning and zoning underneath them, which in this case this position doesn't have. It effectively, the only community development element of that is the CDBG program. So it's not comparable as it relates to CDBG. Obviously, those CDBG or the community development also don't do recreation. When you look at it from the recreation component of it, again, if you look at the programs that are being offered in other communities compared to what we're programming and the facilities that are managed by that individual, it's different than what our community does as well. The other part going into this is, as part of the budget going into this year, was the elevation of the community center manager to actually the deputy director position. So there's going to be actually pulling off some of the responsibility to hand to that individual.
I still think that it's unjust. It's just not fair. It's inconsistent. All three of them are department heads. All three of them should be treated equally as department heads. And I just think it's such a vast difference in pay that it's just not, it's not fair. It's not fair.
Through the chair.
That's my
Yes, sir,
problem.
go ahead.
I agree with Councilman Kelsey and Councilwoman Breeding. How much did you pay Don Cook? And how much did you pay William Hadley? Those were the two department directors that back in the day. You compare those two salaries and what's she making today?
Yeah,
I agree. That's way too low. You're giving one $5,000 more. She makes $72,000 a year. Well, I think that's a shame. You want to even things out, then you should start getting them better with everybody else.
I would be careful with council dictating what contract language or what the employees should be paid. The negotiations, the investigation into what was needed was done by the city manager, and this is his recommendation. We all have personal feelings, and I can give a litany of people that I think that are being underpaid right now. So, but with that being said, this isn't something that I feel that we can decide at this present time. Now, if you want that part of the contract to go back for renegotiation and under those guidelines, then I would suggest that we pull that off of this resolution and go back and let him investigate, or we proceed, and then they can make an addition for the next year if that is what is everyone's wish, I guess.
I'm just totally against it being so inconsistent, the disparity. I mean, even if it had just been,
But I recall that when
when
She
Don left,
was-
he made $75,000.
but she was given a substantial raise at that particular time. was
Not
she?
substantial.
I think it was 20,000, was it not?
No,
No?
no. And I'm not objecting to the other two salaries. I want to make that clear. I really think the salaries are good salaries for the others, but I just think we are picking and choosing here, and I don't think that that's fair. It's not fair.
Well, in my defense, there is logic behind what I did. It's not picking and choosing. You may not like the logic behind it, but there is, to me, a logic behind it, not one of fairness or not. It's equitability and looking at what the job does compared to what other positions within the downriver communities do. And that's, again, how we looked at this.
I'm not challenging
I know.
that.
I didn't think so, but I wanted to make
No,
that
no,
clear.
no. I'm not challenging you, this contract, what was put together, the items that are in it. I just don't think it is fair that it is so inconsistent and there's a disparity. There's such a huge, we're talking quite a bit of money here. I'm not in favor of the salaries.
Through the chair, $1,500 is the raise for everybody else. I think it should be across the board if you're gonna keep it this way.
I'm not clear. $1,500, what do you mean?
Okay, public service went from 75 to 76.5.
That's next
Yeah,
year.
you're looking at the second year.
Well, I'm saying,
He's not giving you what the current salary is.
well, one's too low. I agree. If you're gonna give one $5,000 to bring them up to standards, you gotta bring the other one up the same way, in my opinion.
Well, in the end, these are just my recommendations. The total control is within your hands. If you want to change those, that is what you are able to do.
Can we do that on the floor today?
You could do that on the floor today if you make an
I'd like to
amendment
make
to
a
adjust that.
motion that the salary for Director of Community Improvement and Development, I'm getting all emotional, Doreen, be set at $70,000.
I second that.
It's 58.
Is there further discussion?
Yes, Your Honor. A quick point. Obviously, I've been involved in contract negotiations, but for the negotiation team to talk and come up with their settlements and then to bring it to us, and now we have to, like, after the fact, make a decision, it's like, maybe we should have been brought in to see what you come up with before we make a decision to bring it to this body.
Well, let me clarify that this, although the city treats these as a bargaining unit, it's not a bargaining unit. You know, the salaries and benefits are set by the city for these positions. It's not a negotiation.
There was no negotiation.
Right.
But if I may, prior to the emergency manager, mayor and council were part of the discussion as far as union association contracts, even for department heads. I mean, they
That's why
were,
you're here now.
well, anyways, so.
I got a question through the chair. The numbers you gave me, Matt, are these current numbers? Or these are the high end of a 2-year agreement? Or
This
these are
this is
just current?
what they have posted.
Posted on their website.
Either in their budget for this year.
Okay.
Or it's on their website within, actually, they could be a year behind, some of them.
Well, through the chair, that's what I was asking, because it looks, high, but I don't know if that's because they got an increase in the previous years or how, we don't know the history. We know what they post on the website is all we know, right?
Right, and
Yeah,
again,
okay.
at the most, those are what the current year salaries are, at the best.
Okay, so those are current year. Thank you.
Well, one thing that I feel that you have to be careful of is when you take a look at the chief of police and the deputy chief that are in here, those gentlemen are making less than I was making when I was chief, and I retired from being a chief 6 years ago. Or when I had my full, before I was a contractual thing. So if you're talking about fairness and people coming up to it, I mean, fire chief, the police chief, the deputy, the police chief are in the same boat here.
Well, then we should have looked at that.
Well, we're coming out of emergency, well, never mind. All right, further discussion on the amendment. Clerk, call the roll on the amendment.
amendment.
Yep.
Councilpersons Breeding,
Yes.
Parkinson,
Yes.
Kelsey,
Yes.
Salcido,
Yes.
and Mayor Carnes.
Yes, I'll go with it. Now for the resolution as amended. Further discussion on the resolution as amended. All right, clerk, call the roll.
Mayor Carnes,
Yes.
Councilman Kelsey,
Yes.
Breeding,
Yes.
Parkinson,
Yes.
and Salcido.
Yes.
All right, next item. Whereas pursuant to Section 1, appointed officers and boards enumerated, officers and members and qualifications of Chapter 4, appointed officers of the city charter, mayor and council must appoint the city finance director, city department of public services director, and other such officers as provided for in the codified codes for a period of 2 years. Now therefore be it resolved that the following appointments be made by mayor and city council of the city of Lincoln Park for a two-year term beginning January 1, 2019. Lisa Griggs, Director of Finance and Operations, John Kazoo, Director of Department of Public Services, and Doreen Christian, Director of Community Development and Parks and Recreation. Be it further resolved that compensation and fringe benefits for these positions outlined in the Lincoln Park Administrators Association Agreement.
So moved.
Support. Oh.
All right, discussion on that?
I'd like I said, I've made my comments. I'd just like to see us, when the city management takes a look at the next contract, that we keep that in mind, that's all. Because like it's been said, we have other contracts we have to adjust anyways as we go. So, thank you.
Already? Further discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Councilpersons Breeding,
Yes.
Parkinson,
Yes.
Kelsey,
Yes.
Salcido,
Yes.
and Mayor Carnes.
Yes. Next item is resolved that Jacqueline Clark, 1377 Merrill, Lincoln Park, Michigan, 48146, is appointed to the Historical Commission to fill the unexpired term of Susan Ambrose with a term set to expire April 6, 2019.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Councilpersons Breeding,
Yes.
Salcido,
Yes.
Kelsey,
Yes.
Parkinson,
Yes.
and Mayor Carnes.
Yes. Next item has a cover letter from our city manager. In August of 2018, mayor and city council approved the contract with Green for Life Environmental USA, or GFL for short, for curbside collection of municipal solid waste. The decision was made at that time not to include the award of recycling portion of the bid, but to wait and discuss whether to start the service at a later date. The pricing provided by GFL for curbside collection of recyclables, in addition to the services currently being provided, is as follows. 2018-19 cost per stop per month is $12.50. 2019-20, it'd be $12.88. 2020 to 2021, $13.27. 2021 to 2022, $13.67. 2022 to 2023, $14.08. The first year of the service would increase the cost per stop by $4.75. Thereafter, the cost would increase by 15 cents per year, except in the final year when that cost increases by 16 cents. A resident should expect their quarterly bill would increase by $14.25 and an increase annually of $57. Of course, this increase is every year by 45 cents quarterly and $1.80 annually. If Mayor and Council chooses to go forward, the earliest the service could be implemented would be May 1, 2019. I would recommend a start date of July 1. This would provide plenty of time to have the wheeled totes distributed to effectively educate the public to the program. This cost could be reduced should the city be able to obtain a grant from the state of Michigan. As you may remember, Elizabeth Garver from the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality spoke to the mayor and council and informed us that grant to purchase the wheeled totes is available. This grant is still available, but the deadline for it is in March. And as you may recall, we have had public hearing on this, and a survey was done in which the majority of those in attendance and completing the survey were in favor of this program. So hence the resolution, whereas in August of 2018, the mayor and council awarded the bid for curbside collection of municipal solid waste to Green for Life Environmental for a term of 5 years beginning September 1, 2018, following a publicly conducted bid. And whereas the city of Lincoln Park included in that bid a provision for curbside collection, transportation, and disposal of recyclables, but did not award that contract at that time. And whereas the mayor and city council are desirous of providing curbside collection of recyclables to the residents of the city. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and city council hereby award the curbside collection, transportation, and disposal of recyclables pursuant to their submitted proposal to Green for Life Environmental USA Incorporated, 6200 Elm Ridge, Sterling Heights, Michigan, for a term to begin May 6, 2019 and ending on August 31, 2023. And be it further resolved that mayor and clerk are authorized to execute all necessary agreements on behalf of the city of Lincoln Park with Green for Life Environmental USA Incorporated for the provision of curbside collection, transportation, and disposable recyclables. I will move on this.
Support for discussion. I'd like to know, as far as the carts, you're not talking about an additional fee to the residents
So
on top of this?
I wanted to address that because I think we do need to make a slight amendment to the first. Therefore, we'd be awarding the alternate one, which would be GFL providing the carts. So that $12.50 that first year is inclusive of them providing the carts as well.
Alternate one or
Yeah, alternate
option one?
Alternate one, yeah. Bid alternate one.
Okay.
I amend the resolution to show that. Is supporter good?
Yes.
Okay, we have, I know several people from the audience wish to speak on this, and council has,
Let them speak first. I got no problem. I'll talk afterwards.
okay,
Audience?
anyone, yes, go ahead and then just,
Thank you, Council. My name is Michael Sloan. I'm a resident of Lincoln Park, Lincoln Park native. I graduated from the high school. I currently work at the high school as the parapro for the building trades program. Besides that, I have joined the Green Team, which is a club that was started by Emily Sesmus, one of the science teachers at the high school. The mission of the Green Team is to make LP High an environmentally friendly place. With regards to this recycle program that we're going into, the high school has a waste paper recycling dumpster now, And the kids have given out bins and they collect the paper. We figured they would have to collect once a week. They've been collecting 2 or 3 times a week. In 2 months, we've already filled our dumpster. So we've seen a really positive movement in recycling at the high school alone. And when the club heard that that Lincoln Park was planning on having recycling brought back to the city, we were really excited about that. That was part of our mission. We wanted to see that in our community. And we feel that the curbside recycling pickup is similar to what we do with the teachers. It's nice and convenient. It's in the classroom. You pop it in, and then it's taken care of. It is taken care of for you. So I'm here on behalf of the Green Team and Emily to advocate that the council vote yes on the curbside recycling. Thank you for your time.
Hi, Leslie Lynch Wilson. I'm a resident. Despite being a self-professed building hugger and saving historic buildings is one of the most sustainable things you can do, I'm not supporting having recycling at this time. I grew up with recycling. My family did it. My mom, long before cities had curbside recycling, my mom used to take tin cans down to a recycling center off of Livonia off of Schoolcraft and Levan Road. However, right now, I'm concerned with my water bill getting too high, the extra fees, and everything I'm reading, recycling is no longer working. It's not sustainable. Since China has stopped accepting scrap materials from the U.S., many recycling programs have been forced to make changes to what they accept. Many cities have stopped accepting glass and certain types of plastics, and now these items are going to the landfill. Some have stopped recycling altogether, and I'm reading that waste removal companies are struggling to find recyclers to take the materials. Many are losing money at it. I personally think we need to learn how to use less plastics, since it's affecting the environment, getting into the waterways, the fish, and we need to figure out, state of Michigan needs to figure out new ways to use new industries, domestic industries, not just global, for the recycled materials. And I really think as a city, we need to have a sustainability committee to look at ways our city can be more sustainable. In Michigan, some townships have quit recycling. A August 26th Daily Telegram out of Adrian, the article was about Raisin and Adrian Township boards had voted to close their recycling facilities, and it quoted an owner of a garbage company called Modern Waste in Jackson County that said that the face of recycling has changed from selling recyclable resources to simply finding someone willing to take it off his hands. That it was a real struggle in finding places to sell the recycled materials to. So that's why I think we need to really look at this, because it doesn't seem to be working. Thanks.
Sean Stansberry. I'm sure everybody knows that I'm totally against this program. Hopefully, we won't implement it tonight. I've done a lot of research on it, and I've talked to some of the council people about what I've researched. Matt's come up with some stuff and gave it to everybody, and I just hope that we don't make the same mistake we did back in the 90s. And I would say now, more than ever, it would be a worse mistake, because we know now that the markets aren't there in China. They had a thing on 60 Minutes where people said, oh, well, you know, Indonesia's taking it, Vietnam's taking it. Well, they're putting it in their landfill. They're not even recycling it. So for all the people out there, the EPA people and the, you know, people that are for it, where in the United States are they recycling this product? We have MRV centers where we keep it and we store it and we clean it, but we're not recycling the stuff. It's going to go in the landfill. And I just want everybody to know, Up until about 6 months ago, I recycled almost every single thing in my household. If I could have had compost in my backyard, I'd be putting food back there for compost. So I was all for recycling until I found out what was happening. I hope everybody tonight thinks of the best interests of the city and of the people. In a 1,000 people survey, not everybody wanted it. Out of 40,000 people, we should have done this a long time ago and had the whole city. If we were going to do that, we should have had the whole city try to participate, not in a month or two or whatever. So I just hope that we don't do this and make another mistake, because we got a lot of stuff coming up this year that we're going to have to vote on. And this is another increase that we don't need. This is foolish. Thank you.
Chris Darzinski, resident. I just want to dovetail on that, just from a economics point of view, that there's no clear guarantee that it goes to that it actually goes to actual recycling. It just if there's even a chance it goes to a landfill, then you've added 2 steps to each of these recycled products, and therefore you're using even more energy, and the cost has gone up for you on both ends, from the fee that you're being assessed and from all the extra energy into having to transport these articles from city to a MRV to a landfill. Just no economic sense. Thank you very much.
I'm Jim Bull. I've lived here most of my life. I'm past president of Detroit Audubon and currently the environmental policy chair of Detroit Audubon, coordinator. We are a partner with Zero Waste Detroit. I strongly, and Detroit Audubon strongly, urges you to support this ordinance. I think that Lincoln Park, it's time that we came into the present century and that we become part of the solution. There are communities around us that are recycling. That's something that people look for when they choose a community. I think it's a shame that we haven't been recycling, and I think that some of the claims here are not founded. We had representatives from the state of Michigan and SEMCOG who disputed the claims that were just made. I think that the only way we're going to have viable domestic places to recycle is if we do recycle. You have to work on both ends of this. Also, I think another thing that the city ought to probably do is to consider an ordinance about using recycled products. That's the other end of things, is that if you want recycling to work, you also have to buy recycled products. We have a global climate change crisis. Recycling is part of the answer to that, and I think we need to be part of that solution. We talked at the last, when we had the hearing, about possibly putting in the contract that there be a requirement that the material be recycled and not go to a landfill. I don't know what happened with that, but I think that would be a possible recommendation. Maybe it's already in the contract, but I think that there have been some claims made here in a kind of a global statements that I'm not sure are substantiated, that because that China is backing out doesn't mean there aren't other places, and other places are recycling and it's working, and the state of Michigan has as a goal to increase recycling. We are way behind in Michigan. Lincoln Park should be in the lead, not trailing behind. Thank you.
Good evening, Joyce Murray. I'm going to be honest, I'm so sick of hearing about recycling, and I'm sure you guys are too. I hope that you guys vote one way or another on it. But I do have a couple questions. I had asked Matt last month if we did decide to go with the recycling program. The original concept was that we would not be paying as much in dumping fees. Did you ever find out that if the recycling centers do dump it, do we get charged back on that, or is that on their end?
That's all theirs. Once it's collected, that whole stream of recyclables is the responsibility of the the contractor collecting it or the MRF that's going to be processing it.
Okay. So essentially, the $57 per year could be offset slightly depending on how much we recycle, because it wouldn't be as much dumping fees, correct?
Right. It would reduce at some level our tipping fees. And again, the question is
How
what?
much?
Yeah, is it 10%, 20%? Are we talking 20,000, 30,000? I mean, it just depends.
So I think that that's very important to know for people to understand that it's not just going to be a full 57, it might only be 50 or 45. I understand that's still a lot of money for people that are on fixed incomes. My second question would be, in the contract, would there be a stipulation where if we're finding that it's not working, people are not recycling, it's just not working in our city, are we able to opt out of the recycling before 2023?
There is a opt-out provision for the whole contract. In discussions during the early contract negotiations, that was brought up, and it easily could be written in because it'll be a separate contract for the recycling now, since we have a master agreement for the refuse and composting. We would have an amendment contract, and it could easily be put in there.
Okay. And then my last question, I don't know if you have an answer. How much grant money are we losing out from the state for not recycling? Not just for getting the bins, but I know in other cities and communities, they're receiving grant monies for sustainability projects, parks and recs items because they are recycling. Do we have an idea on that?
I don't know necessarily if there are any limitations on grants to say if you're not recycling, you don't get the funding. I mean, I think the only one that I could definitely point to would be the infrastructure grant that DNR is putting out there, or DEQ is putting out there for the totes. I mean, you obviously have to be recycling to be able to be eligible for that.
Okay. And then my last point is just that we always talk about what happened 20 years ago, talking about the Quant Park project that possibly might happen. People are so caught up in the nostalgia. You have to think about moving forward and not about what happened in the past. If somebody said something mean to you 20 years ago, are you going to hold it against them forever? And that's something that we need to remember. Moving forward, we need to look for what our future is going to look like and not dwell on the past. So please keep that in mind.
Anyone further from the audience?
You would like that, wouldn't you?
Comments from council?
Yes, I got one, through the chair.
Yes.
As most of you got, I went on the website and got an article put up on the National Leagues of Cities, which is a credible article put out about recycling in the current age we're talking, not the 50s, not the 70s, but 2018. It talks about China, it talks about Thailand, it talks the pros and cons. And a lot of these cities, large cities that are recycling, are rethinking that because they're not getting the bang for their buck. And that's a matter of fact. It's put right there. It's authorized and signed. So it's not something that somebody's making up or just a thought process. And I think that's something as council people we have to take a look at as reality. And I think that was just said by not what goes on in the past, what feels good, but what's reality. Is this stuff actually going? Some of the cities still recycle, but they have opt-out clauses because they found out that the price of recycling's gone up so high. And the other cities, the other countries, Thailand and Vietnam, are not taking as much anymore as China did. China, according to this article, took a lot of the refuse from the cities in the States. We exported all that. It didn't go to Dallas or Texas or to Washington, D.C. It went outside this country. It was shipped by container boat. And all I'm saying is that we had a issue of recycling back when, and I don't know what happened. I wasn't here. I wasn't in the city. I don't know whether it's pro or con. But all I'm saying is that if we're going to do something, whichever way we go, I want to make sure that we do the right thing. We're not stuck with a contract where we're actually forcing the contractor to charge us more money because he can't get rid of the product, which means nobody in this country is buying the product. And as far as the state goes, it's funny about the state talking about recycling when they allowed all the trash from Canada to come in here, don't even raise the tipping fees. That's pretty funny to me. Here's the state talking about recycling, and I believe in that. I recycled in Dearborn a long time before I came here. I had a small little tote, and I put it out for the recycling thing, and we separated. We put papers in there, too. Here we have recycling for the library and also for the schools, and that's good. I have no problem with that. But I think when you're going to look at this, I think we have to look at the science of it, like somebody once said before, about what the article says and what the reality is. And I don't have any problem whichever way we go, but I want to make sure the citizen, if I'm paying $40 or $30, I want to make sure it's going for the right thing if I'm going to wheel that 75-gallon cart out there and separate my stuff and make sure it goes. And unfortunately, in the environment we believe in, or we live in right now, that's not what's happening. What will happen next year? I don't know. It might change. China might decide the fact that they decided to go the other way and buy all the stuff we got. I don't know. Nobody's got a crystal ball. I just think however we go, that we got to make sure that we are protected as a city when we sign a contract, that we have the ability to go with the time, so to speak. If they go bad, we can get out. If they go good, we're in. And I think that's what the citizens would expect from the elected representatives anyways, because like I said, I gave this to everybody, and there's pros and cons. Recycling is not all bad. This is not an all negative article. This has the pros and cons. It just says what happened when some of the cities got involved in recycling and what's happened in the long run, what's changed. And unfortunately, what happened is a lot of stuff changed because they are doing the good thing, China, and they're cleaning their environment up, which is good for everybody. But the trouble is they don't want to take the garbage no more. They don't want to, and we're supposed to, and that reminds me, we were supposed to do a tour through the recycling thing. So if we vote tonight, that tour is a really not even an issue. And I'm kind of confused about that. So I guess, I'd like to see us look into this a little bit deeper. We have had a lot of discussions about this, but I just found this online, and I just looked at it and passed it out to everybody. I didn't keep it for myself, and I just think we need to look at the reality. And as far as the schools doing, I think that's great. Schools should do that. They should teach people how to recycle. That puts them in the mode when they get older, and that they realize that recycling's not all bad that it is, that people do recycle things, and things have a purpose. And I think that's great. I think the city should recycle. We should recycle all these papers we throw out. I don't think we do that, but that would be one place to start. Thank you.
Anything else from council?
Yes, through the chair,
Yes.
Mayor. It says this would provide plenty of time. We're thinking about July of 19, this summer, right? And to effectively educate the public, what are we looking at and how to educate the public? Leaflets, mailer, what are we looking at?
Yeah, well, I think we would probably not only do some type of mailer that explains, what the program is and consistent with what other communities have done, but we'd also be using our cable access as well as the social media and the website.
I guess through the chair, I've just got a statement. I was outspoken before about it, adding all these additional fees on everybody's, taxes and water bills and everything else. I have, last couple weeks, I have spent time, odd as it is, over at the community center. They had events going on, and there were quite a few people young people that I know whose kids are involved in the hockey and the ice skating and everything else. And it was very strange that if you are 30 or under, you're all in favor of this. If you get to the seniors over at the senior clubs, then they're more worried about the additional fees. However, in between those two, between those groups that I spoke with and my neighbors that I spoke with, I hate that we're having to charge what we will have to charge, but I have changed my mind about the recycling. I agree with the councilman that it would have been nice if we could have scheduled this walkthrough, this recycling center, before we actually took a vote on it, but it hasn't worked out that way, and so now it comes before us. And so I guess I have changed my tune somewhat on this recycling.
Anyone else on council?
Yeah. I agree with Councilman Kelsey and Councilman Breeding. With the walkthrough and tour of the plant coming up, I think it's ludicrous to take a vote tonight. I think this should be tabled till after the walkthrough.
As what happens with our last thing when we were going for the Retirees Association, it was pushed to the end and had to make a decision, even though the retirees aren't even voting until a week from now or even 2 weeks from now. This has been discussed for several months. We've been in violation of our ordinances for
I still say we
I
should
have the
table it.
floor, sir. We've been in violation of our city ordinances for 5 years. It's either, it's time to put up or shut up, really, to be honest. Either we pass and move forward, or we put it down.
Through
Do you have something further? Hold on, sir.
Sorry.
I've read articles on the other countries actually dumping the plastic in the ocean, which is really screwing up the environment. So now that they're not taking it all, and it's getting all piled up. We don't have, I never read any articles about them having a recycling center in the United States where they're actually making stuff to recycle products out of. It's all going overseas. So unless you can prove to me it's not going to landfill, I don't think I can vote for it, truly.
Okay. Councilman, you had something?
Well, I just, I don't want to step on you there, Mayor, if you're all set. I would like a second, Mr. Parkinson's comment there to make an amendment that we wait till we do the walkthrough because we can talk to the actual people that are shipping this stuff out. These are the actual people that are sorting it out. And I don't think it's going to, if we do it next week, we still got plenty of time before May which is a target date in this resolution. And then, plus we have 2 council people that are missing. Not that that has anything to do with it, because 4 of us control the vote, but I think it would be better if we just do that. And like I say, I'm going to second his, if you're making, through the chair, if you're making an amendment to the resolution.
Yes, I am.
Okay, is there discussion on the amendment?
There's no discussion on the motion to table.
Clerk, call the roll.
Councilperson, this is on the motion to table.
This is on the motion to table.
Councilpersons Parkinson,
Yes.
Kelsey.
Yes.
Breeding,
Can I abstain? No.
Salcido,
Good question.
No, you can't ask a question.
I'm not, this
said
is the
good
table,
question.
this is the table, right?
table.
Table till we
Right,
do
right.
our tour.
You're gonna have to then move to take it off the table. That's all that we can provide you with the rules of order now. So it could never happen, it could happen, it may never happen.
I had another question on this, but, this is interesting. This is why we get voted to make decisions that are tough. I was looking for it. I'm gonna have to vote yes on tabling due to the tour.
And Mayor Kearns.
No.
Motion's tabled.
Let me just remind council that you can bring it back as early as the next meeting if you're satisfied or you feel you want to move forward. There's no limitation. You have to file a motion to remove from the table, and then vote on the original resolution. And in case I'm not here, Mrs. Breeding will tell you the rules of order. Designate her as my assistant.
As your chairperson?
Next item that we have has a cover letter from City Manager Matthew Kopler.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mayor, just let me conclude. Councilman will have to submit it ahead of time to put on the agenda, move and support, so it'll be on the agenda. Or you could bring it up, I guess, sua sponte at the meeting if you like. Do it at any time. We're talking about coming back to vote on it. In all fairness to all parties, it would be nice if a council member is ready to proceed to make a motion, remove from the table, lay it back.
For
Or lay it
the
on.
next meeting.
Well, the item will be back on the,
Yeah, be back on the agenda.
it will be on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yeah, they would do that for the next meeting's agenda, submit a resolution. A little uncomplicated.
Can be brought back for their next business.
Yeah, we can bring it back right to next week.
Yes.
So again, the next item has a cover letter from Matthew Kopler. Based upon the recommendation received from DTE for improving the overall energy efficiency and achieve a reduction of cost, the city is embarking on a series of improvements to City Hall. In all, there will be 3 projects undertaken: the replacement of windows, the conversion of light fixtures to LED with installations of lighting controls, and replacement of the HVAC system. The attached proposal from Hennessy Engineers will be for Phase 1, replacement of windows, Hennessy will develop the specifications for replacement as well as any modifications needed to complete the installation and place this out to bid as soon as possible. We will be bringing the next two phases, mayor, city, and council approval on February 4, 2019. All right. Whereas the mayor and city council wish to begin the energy efficiency improvement program for City Hall based on the recommendation of DTE. Whereas Hennessy Engineers Incorporated is the City of Lincoln Park's contracted engineering firm and will provide design and bidding services for the replacement of windows at City Hall, which will be the first phase of an energy efficiency program. Now therefore be it resolved, the mayor and city council authorize Hennessy Engineers Incorporated to proceed with the design and bidding services for the City Hall window replacement at a cost not to exceed $1,825 to come from account number 101-263-818000, General Fund Municipal Building and Grounds Contractual Services.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion?
Discussion through the chair. Here we go. They want to investigate in measurements $850, right? Is all the windows in City Hall, the front windows? I mean, wall side windows comes to my house and they don't charge me a investigation and measurement fee. Can we get more detail on that? What, are we looking at new improvement?
Well, we have to do a public bid for these, so we can't have the company that's coming in, that's going to bid on it, actually do that work. So we would have to, write those specs ourselves and have that information.
Thank you.
I guess through the chair. I got the same question because it has the investigation measurements, then it has bid specifications. Well, isn't that the same thing? I mean, because when you do the measurements, you already know that you got a window that's, I mean, I don't know if I'm just asking, or is there more specifics in the bid specification, like the boilerplate language be put in there and stuff like that? Is
Right.
that what that
Yeah,
is?
I mean, again, the investigative part,
Okay.
like they do for, kind of put this in the context of a road project, there's a lot of things that they have to do even before they start doing the design. They go out, they have to do boring, they have to do the measurement of the roads and do those type of things first, and then they actually take all that information that's gathered and write the specifications for the project that's going to be bid out.
Thank you.
Through the chair,
Yes, sir.
we have a building department. I think we should put them on it to begin with. And then the building department can know about windows, they can measure them. Thank you.
Do you have further comment, Mr. Coppler?
Well, the building department is that gentleman back there, that we would have the ability to do it, so he'd be doing that and not looking at the other things that he's responsible for. Again, the reason we're doing this is the city needs to bid these things out. We need to have a professional that understands what needs to be done, so we don't have any surprises in the end. And, unfortunately, when we don't do it the right way, we have a lot of surprises at the end that end up costing us money. So this gets us in the best possible position to bid these out so we don't have any surprises.
If I may?
Yes.
I questioned this earlier also. It just seemed to me that it was something that could be just done in-house. And one of the things that, Matt, you stressed to me is if we did it in-house, we couldn't expedite it. We need to move forward, at least this way, the project would get done. Although I do think that's a lot of money to spend for replacement windows, but then we're all used to just getting windows in the house. So maybe that's a big difference. I don't have any idea, but it just seems to me that it's something that we could do in-house. But if we don't have the time to do it in-house, and this, obviously all the windows leak, the windows in the building department, you can't even open them. The screens are all ripped at the front of City Hall and the clerk's office, and so up in the manager's office, his windows are all frosted in because the seals are all broken, and it's very cold. So $1,800 seems like an awful lot to put out for engineering services for replacement windows, but I don't do commercial windows, so what do I know?
Right.
And let me just say that again, the person, if we didn't approve this tonight, the person that would be responsible for doing all the work sitting right there. And he has quite a bit on his plate. And, he unfortunately doesn't have someone that he can just say, hey, this top priority, go take care of it, so.
I bet he'd do it for $1,000. That's all I have.
Anything further? Clerk call the roll.
Councilpersons Kelsey,
Yes.
Breeding,
Yes.
Parkinson,
Yes.
Salcido,
Yes.
and Mayor Carnes.
Yes. Next item has a cover letter from Doreen Christian, Office of Community Planning and Development. And this is to reprogram funds in the 17-18 CDBG budget to a different activity. Background, the senior center renovation project came in lower than expected. In order to meet our timeless deadline, it is necessary to reprogram the remaining funds of $114,969.26 and expend the funds by April 1, 2019. There are several CDBG eligible areas where the sewers could be lined based upon recent SAW grant sewer cleaning and televising results. We could complete this work and have money spent by April 1 if I get something out to bid within the next couple of weeks. The sewer lining is an eligible use of funds. So whereas the senior center renovation project came in $114,969.26 under budget, and whereas these funds need to be expended by April 1, 2019, therefore be resolved that $114,969.26 be reprogrammed from the 2017-18 CDBG activity of senior center renovation into the 2017-18 CDBG project streets and utilities with a sewer lining activity.
So move.
Support.
A discussion?
Through the chair, just a comment. I want to thank everybody that was involved in this senior center renovation project because they saved us a lot of money so that we can do this, out of that out of the CDB budget. So thanks to everybody that was involved and did a nice job. I think Matt, Hennessy, John, and whoever else was involved did a real nice job to make it come under, so it worked out real well for us. That's all, Your Honor.
Okay, anything further? Clerk call the roll.
Councilpersons Breeding,
Yes.
Parkinson,
Yes.
Kelsey,
Yes.
Salcido,
Yes.
and Mayor Carnes.
Yes. Next item is also from Doreen Christian, Office of Community Planning and Development. And the purpose is authorize John Kazoo to solicit bids and Hennessy Engineers to prepare all necessary bid documents for sanitary sewer lining. All right, I think that we can then just head to the resolution. Resolve that John Kazoo, DPS Director, is hereby authorized to solicit bids for the sanitary sewer lining project, and Hennessy Engineers is authorized to prepare all necessary bid documents. Funds to come from 2017-18 Streets and Utilities account number 249-043-75519.
So move.
Everybody jump.
Yeah.
I've never done that.
Discussion?
Parky.
Clerk call the roll.
Councilpersons Breeding,
Yes.
Parkinson,
Yes.
Kelsey,
Yes.
Salcido,
Yes.
and Mayor Carnes.
Yes. So do we have to go through the entire thing, put this next item?
Ed says no.
Can you just read the title, Mrs. Breeden?
Don't ask me, I'm no longer the city clerk.
Never mind, here we go.
Read the whole thing, Mayor. I'm just giving that opinion ahead of time. Just read the caption. Is this the first and second reading? Yes.
By title
Yes.
only.
Title only.
By
First and
title
second
only.
reading by title only. Read the resolution part and the paragraph right after that and say by title only.
Okay, resolved that an ordinance to amend the Lincoln Park Municipal Code, Chapter 610, entitled Animals by amending Section .02B, Section .06A, Section 08C, Section 0.08D, Section 08E, and Section 11D be given its first and second reading by title only.
So move.
Support.
Discussions?
I've got just a question,
Yes, go ahead.
Chair. I see that you're gonna change it now to where it can buy a 1 year, 2 year, or 3 year period. You're gonna change the fees?
The discussion was that we would leave it at $10 per year for a regular license. You would just pay all 3 years at the same time if you bought a 3-year license, if your rabies was.
Okay, I just wasn't sure if it was something that the user fees had to be changed or
The
whatever,
user
but
fees,
they won't have to be.
unless the council decides that they want to offer some kind of a discount for purchasing a multiple-year license and maybe say, you know, $1 or $2 off for the second and third years, that would be totally up to, you know, the council if they wanted to.
For the audience, what we're looking to do is to give you the ability to purchase a 3-year dog license if your dog has rabies certificates that are good for 3 years in the future, basically, or 2 years in the future. And that's what the discussion is
I'm
about.
sorry, yes, that's, and so you're gonna have 3 different tags?
Yes.
Okay. All right, that's all the questions I have.
All right, further discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Councilpersons Parkinson,
Yes.
Kelsey,
Yes.
Breeding,
Yes.
Salcido,
Yes.
and Mayor Carnes.
Yes. All right, this next item has a cover letter from our city clerk, Gary Kerr. And the purpose of this request is to change the mechanical amusement device ordinance to streamline the business registration process. There are currently 2 parts to licensing an amusement device. Part 1 is the fee paid by the business for each device they have, and Part 2 is the distributor registration and another per device fee paid by the distributor or game owner. The business registration certificate must be held by both parties until both parties are satisfied. The proposed changes would eliminate the need to register distributors of mechanical devices and place responsibility for reporting them solely on the business owner, thus simplifying and streamlining the registration clerk's job. So, resolved that an ordinance to amend the Lincoln Park Municipal Code, Chapter 852, entitled Mechanical Amusement Devices, by repealing Section .02B, Section .08, Section .10, Section .11, and repealing and replacing Section .05, be given its first and second reading by title only.
So moved.
Support.
Okay, discussion?
I'm sorry, did you want to have the clerk explain this, Mayor, a little bit, what this does, or amusement device, or?
Well, we covered it a little bit
Okay,
in the,
that's
in reading the purpose.
Okay.
You want me to say anything? Your Honor, I just
No,
want to
proceed.
indicate, since they canceled the personal property tax charges within the community, it's a duplicitous registration. It's easier for the clerk to just collect the fees from the individual who has the machine there, and it would seem patently unfair to double collect on a few who indicate they got them from someone else. Most people tell the clerk they own the machine, and instead of requiring her to go out and investigate everybody who has title, because now it doesn't matter in the personal property changes in the statute, it's easier for the clerk to collect this way. She indicates it's about $200 a year, is that what you think it would
Yeah.
come to? So for that amount, it would cut down on their bookkeeping purposes. Beyond that, it was a way to make money, but you know the fees have to be justified by the actions.
Excuse me, through the chair.
Yes.
$200 a year?
The overall difference would be $200 a year. We're talking about raising the user fee for the per game to $100, so that the money that is paid by the distributor on the per games would now be added to the establishment.
But I don't want you to give them a fault. We collected more than $200 for distributor.
We had 8 distributors last year that paid the $250 fee. So that was $2,000. We also had 11 establishments that own the games, so we'll be collecting an extra $25 on each of the, or $30 on each of those games, for $9.50. And, we have approximately 130 games outside of that, that will pay an extra $5 overall. And it came out to a difference of about $300.
Well, I misspoke then. I
About
apologize. There's a $200 difference now. I know, Mrs. Breeding, there were more
It's about-
distributors than that. So
Right, it's about $300.
lawyers
And
thinking,
businesses, our local businesses are going to they're going to be upset that their fees are raised. They already complain about having, they say, this distributor is making money off of this, I just have it sitting in the establishment or whatever. Now, there's some distributors that actually pick up the fees for the businesses, but not all. So I just wanted some clarification.
Anything further?
Thank you, Your Honor. Thanks, Ed.
All right, hearing none. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilpersons Kelsey,
Yes.
Salcedo,
Yes.
Sounds.
Breeding,
Yes.
Parkinson,
Yes.
and Mayor Carnes.
Yes. All righty. I'm sorry?
There's no cover letter.
I'm always looking for cover. Okay, next item. Whereas the city of Lincoln Park believes it to be in the best interest of its citizens to enhance the quality of life of dogs and other companion animals in the city of Lincoln Park, and whereas the city of Lincoln Park operates through its police department, the Lincoln Park Animal Shelter, whereas the city of Lincoln Park desires to effectively and humanely solve the homeless and unwanted pet problem in the city of Lincoln Park, and whereas the city of Lincoln Park believes that the best way to achieve this goal is to adopt a policy to express its desires, whereas the city of Lincoln Park will strive to achieve a no-kill policy for adoptable companion animals, whereas the city of Lincoln Park believes that only those animals which are received in a condition of terminal illness or mortal injury that are beyond clinical redemption for any reasonable quality of life will still continue to be destroyed, as would such animals as are aggressive and/or dangerous and cannot be successfully rehabilitated with available resources. Now therefore be it resolved that the city of Lincoln Park, mindful of the foregoing recitals, support the concept of adoption of all eligible cats, dogs, and other companion animals, and of a no-kill for adoptable animals policy with an emphasis on sterilization in order to most effectively and humanely solve the problem of homeless or unwanted pets and pet overpopulation in the city of Lincoln Park.
So moved.
Support.
Just, if I could, real quick,
Yes.
before you start discussing this, I looked around for different resolutions that were adopted by cities. I found this one, it was adopted back in 2014, I believe, by the city of Woodhaven. So that's where this came from, just to let you know. I did modify it from the standpoint there was a lot of talk about spay and neutering that I didn't think was germane to this discussion. So that was not taken, or that was not kept in there. But everything else is written except for this, City of Lincoln Park as what that resolution.
Isn't their mayor a big advocate of the care of animals? Okay. Oh, did you have some?
Oh, sure. I have something.
Okay.
I'm quite pleased with this. And you have to achieve a no-kill policy. Is this something that's going to come before mayor and council, or is this setting it? I mean, will we have to adopt a policy, or will this set it?
This is setting that policy, and I think, one of the things, if council does adopt this, we'll have to come up with some criteria to be able to report back what it is. I mean, so that's still being thought about, at least from my standpoint, how we set up those indicators for council, so we can say every year, this is what we've done.
Good job.
Yes,
Just a question, on the sterilization, I know it says it's in here, what is that, I mean, I guess describe that, are we sterilize them when we get them, or after they're given to an adopted family, or how does that?
I think, again, there was a lot of language within the Woodhaven that talked about spay and neutering. The reason I left it in there is I think that if you want to get to the root of why dogs are ultimately destroyed, is because people, don't, look at spay and neutering of their pets that they take, and then all of a sudden they have another dog that they don't want to care for, and they end up giving it to us or letting it loose or whatever. So I left that in there, not that we're going to be doing the sterilization, but I think it's something that if we're serious about, trying to reduce the number of dogs that end up within our shelters, which is what I think our position should be, we're going to have to advocate that, people spay and neuter their dogs. And if you think back to the fee schedule that we put together, is that, we're giving a discount for people that, if the dog has not been spayed or neutered, go out and spay and neuter the dog that they rehome from us to try to achieve that.
The question through the chair, the question I got is, if they adopt a dog and don't want to spray or neuter it, is that a problem? That's what I was asking.
Well, I
I'm not
think
sure how that works.
they're going to pay more.
If I could just
just
touch
say-
on that.
yeah.
In other shelters that I've been party to and where they've had adopted out, there's a certain fee that they pay, and that's held in abeyance until that animal is then either spayed or neutered, at which point that they get that and they'll be rebated. I would hope that that's what we would do in this circumstance.
I would just, through the chair, I was just wondering, because if somebody adopts an animal and doesn't, that's what I was asking, because everybody's not on board, that's what I was asking.
Yeah,
And I understand the philosophy, because I got a dog from the shelter from Detroit and it was sprayed or neutered or whatever. But I was just wondering, so we can get these dogs adopted as well, and cats.
Yeah.
Because somebody might say, whatever. I was just curious how we did that.
Yeah,
or what we're gonna
you
do.
adopted at the last meeting the fee schedule for the shelter, which included a rebate going back to those individuals that adopt a dog that has not been spayed or neutered. They get a spayed or neutered, present that to us, and then they would get, I think it's a $35 amount back. So it would be, the initial fee would be $85 if it hasn't been spayed or neutered, and then they would get a $35 refund should they get that animal.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I was, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mayor, that's what I was asking.
Anything further? Okay. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilpersons Kelsey,
Yes.
Parkinson,
Yes.
Breeding,
Yes.
Salcido.
Yes.
And Mayor Carnes.
Yes.
You get.
Okay, last action item has a cover letter from our city manager, Matthew Copworth. Mayor and City Council met in a special session on January 7, 2019 to discuss the proposed road bond. At that meeting, Mayor and Council was presented information by the city's bond counsel, financial advisor, and engineers that explained the legal, financial, and civil design of the program. In brief, the electors of the city passed a $20 million road bond program in 2013. The authorization to proceed is still there should the mayor and council approve. The work for the program would be split over a 5 to 6 year period with 3 bond issuances sold through private placement of the debt. Each individual issuance would have a 10-year payback pursuant to the approved bond language by the electors, but it would take approximately 14 years to retire all the debt. The next step in the process to get this underway would be the authorization of the city's engineering firm to begin the design work to place this year's program out to bid. Once it's out to bid, the mayor and council would be asked to approve the necessary bond resolution that would cover the next 2 years' worth of engineering and construction. The recommended work to be done for 2019 is as follows. Asphalt milling and resurfacing, a total estimate of $594,600. Concrete sectioning, a total estimate of $560,190. Concrete reconstruction, total estimate of $1,231,709. And with $525,500 water main replacement. Now, that's in addition to the $1,231,709. Design, engineering, and bidding services for this project is estimated to not exceed $162,770. These services will be performed by Hennessy Engineers as part of their general engineering services contract with the City of Lincoln Park, in which all engineering work must be offered to them first and can only be offered to a secondary engineer by mutual consent. So, whereas the mayor and city council met in a study session to discuss the road bond program, and whereas the mayor and council wishes to proceed with the road bond program as approved by the majority of voters in 2013, And whereas Hennessy Engineers Incorporated is the City of Lincoln Park's contract and engineering firm and will provide design and bidding services for the asphalt milling and resurfacing program as well as the concrete section and road reconstruction programs. Now therefore be it resolved that the Mayor and City Council authorize Hennessy Engineers Incorporated to proceed with the design and bidding services for the 2019 road bond program at a cost not to exceed $162,770 to come from account number 450-000-821-000 Road Capital Engineering.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion? Hearing none, clerk call the roll.
Councilpersons Kelsey,
Yes.
Breeding.
Yes.
Parkinson,
Yes.
Salcido.
Yes.
And Mayor Carnes.
Yes. All right. Resolved that the accounts and claims payable for those items greater than $25,000 be approved as follows. MERS defined benefit, December 2018, $206,503. Downriver Utility Wastewater Authority, excess flow charges for Jan 2019, $73,764. And sewage usage fee, November 2018, $102,547.27 for a total of $176,311.27. DTE Energy, 3 135-watt LED fixtures, $1,971. Streetlights, December 2018, $44,118.38. Gas, electric, December 2018, $6,099.01, for a total for DTE Energy at $52,188.39. DVM Utilities, Saw Grant Sanitary Sewer Cleaning and Televising, $35,954.47. Hennessy Engineers Incorporated, General Consulting, $64.02. DWSD TAC and AWG Consulting, $113.52. Saw Grant, $24,738.78. Kennedy Memorial Roof Specs, $79.20. Emmons Resurfacing, $8,001.10. Water Main Replacements, $16,456.65. River Drive Reconstruction, $2,450. And Senior Center Brick Facade Administration, $118.80 for a total of $52,022.07 for Hennessy Engineers Incorporated. McKenna Associates Building Department Services, December 2018, $48,354. And MTech Easement Pipe Machine and Supplies, $49,933.43. And
So-
the MERV's payment has check release for due date. So,
So moved.
Support.
discussion?
I think, through the chair, Matt, can I talk to you tomorrow about some issues? It's not going to stop this, I just had some issues. Thank you, Your Honor, that's all.
All right, anything further? Clerk call the roll.
Councilpersons Kelsey,
Yes.
Breeding.
Yes.
Parkinson,
Yes.
Salcido.
Yes.
And Mayor Carnes.
Yes. It's now time for our city manager report. Mr. Cobbler.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I have a lot of items, actually, but I'll try to get through these as quickly as possible. First off, I wanted to bring Mayor and Council up to date on the Southfield and Dix Development Guide project. I think I had sent out to everyone to let you know that we had had a discussion with Seritage, which owns the Sears property. As of today, we had a conversation with Grand Sakwa, which owns the other part of the development area, which is known as the shopping center, the Lincoln Park Shopping Center, Sears Shopping Center, however you want to call that. They too are very interested in partnering with us. They've committed to work with us and eerily have a lot of the similar thoughts that Seritage has for their property. So, we'll be working with them over the course of the next month and a half to put together some different ideas with their input in terms of what they think they would like to see there and what we believe would be a good way to go about, achieving the highest value development in that area for the city. Second, let you know that we did place out the bid. As you might remember, you authorized this, the assessor contract. One thing has changed in that, just to let you know, I had a conversation with the current firm that does our assessment, Tony Filco. He had let me know that he is not going to bid on this. So there really is probably only one company out there that can bid on it then, which we're actively trying to make sure that they're aware that our bid exists, so we can get something from them. This contract expires at the end of April. Depending upon what happens with the bid opening, which I believe is the first week in February, that'll give us some time. If we don't get a bid or we don't get an acceptable bid, we'll have to go look at Plan B, and Plan B is to try to bring this back in-house. Maybe a little bit more costly to do so, but if we don't have any acceptable bids, we may not have a choice on that. I received, actually, the mayor received this, he forwarded it on to me, and I just wanted to bring this to your attention. Something from Wayne County regarding the Parks Grant. You might remember we had submitted to them some costs for lighting at Quant Park as well as flooring for the community center. It's been quite a while since all that was done, and we haven't received any notification. I believe staff had reached out through our county commissioner on this to figure out what was going on, and through the county commissioner's efforts, there was an email generated that explained that the city was delinquent on a couple of accounts, which we're still not sure on what those are, and we're trying to get an understanding. One of them was for housing of prisoners, and it was for an amount like $157,000, which would be over a year or half a year's worth of payment, which I don't believe is an accurate thing. So, and the other was for water or for sewerage fees, which again, we're still kind of baffled about that one as well. So we're looking into that, just in case you hear something in the interim. That's what we found out, and we're looking into those. Myself and staff were actively in the budget process. We've just completed the first round of meetings with all the departments on their submittals, and there may be a couple follow-up meetings with everyone, but for the most part, we're proceeding very rapidly here. We're looking towards the middle of March once again to present the budget for next year to you. I am going to make a recommendation, which is my next item, that I think is very important that we do, and that's actually go through a goal setting / visioning process. And I'm going to throw that out there today. I'm going to let it marinate with you for a while. But I think the month of February is a great month maybe to meet a few times extra and talk about what are the visions of mayor and council going forward, so we can make sure that we align the budgets to achieve what you're looking for in the upcoming year and possibly beyond that. And second to last thing is we're still proceeding with the court police facility, although it's at a much reduced pace. Really the next big milestone is getting word back from State Treasury on any grant that may come as through the financially distressed, which would be for the schematic drawing phase. I think there has been movement from the perspective of the other two communities in terms of location. So we're trying to verify all that and may have some other alternatives coming shortly to everyone related to where that could be located. And the last thing I wanted to bring up, and I asked the police chief to stay, and I don't know if he wants to address anything, but we are coming very quickly up on the end of our contract with the City of Taylor for the animal shelter. We're also very quickly finalizing everything related to the animal shelter, and we'll probably be, over the next few days, putting out press releases and information in terms of the hours and the phone numbers and all those things that you would expect to be able to see with that. Most likely, we're going to be accepting animals into it before this weekend, if not this weekend. So that's going forth. I want to thank our director of DPS, who has like he wants to rehome some of the dogs that will be coming through our shelter, has adopted the animal shelter as his own, has been taking us through some of the work that needs to be done with that. I want to thank him. He has been able to get actually some additional help, which is through HP Snap, and I know he met with them last week, and hopefully their crews are going to be helping us install some of the things that we still have to get done at that building. So I want to thank everything John's been doing to put that forward. I don't know, Chief, if you have anything else you'd like to add related to the animal shelter?
Just that it's been some time since we have had a shelter, and we are making our best effort to make it the best run shelter in Downriver. But just because it has been some time and we are starting off brand new, just to be patient with us, and we will make every attempt to to do it the right way, though. But we will be running, getting going soon here. We're very excited. It will be challenging, but we will do our best.
And that is my report. If you have any questions, I would be happy to entertain them and try to answer them.
I had a question, of course. What level assessor do we have to have?
Well, we've been, when we do this, we've been advertising, I think it's a class 3 or it's a level 3 is what we've had and what the recommendation is from our assessor that we should have.
I know that all the clerical staff that has worked with Tony throughout his, tenure here, has gone to classes and to get certificates, everything else. I'm just wondering I just wonder when you start soliciting, looking for a company for this, if in fact you contact whatever college, Schoolcraft College, whatever college it is that actually offers these classes to see if they have a list. I mean, we got, way back when, we had Joyce Seitz. She had the credentials and everything else, and so she was here for a short period of time. But I'm just saying, as far as branching out,
Right.
looking for someone that would qualify.
Yeah, I think, again, if we don't get appropriate bids, that we will be doing a lot of that over the course of February to get us into a position to be ready to take it over in-house if that's what has to happen.
Just a couple, through the chair, just a couple questions about the animal shelter. Have we hired some people to run that place? I mean, we were talking, I think, 2 part-time people. Have we got that far yet?
Yeah, so we have brought on board 3 part-time, if you'd like to.
We have 3 part-time people that are going to be working with us. We're setting up, currently trying in the works to set up a training. Obviously, we don't have a shelter that's in working right now, so we're working with Dearborn so that they will train them. And then, like I said, we're going to be going quick on this. But we do have 3 part-time. They're very excited about getting going on it.
And, through the chair.
If I could just follow up with that. So those are going to be the individuals that are going to be doing the kind of day-to-day type of work within it. It's going to be overseen, obviously, by the chief, the deputy chief. I don't know exactly which one wins that coin toss. But also, our animal control officers will also be a very important part of that overall operation as well.
Well, the question I had through the chair to the chief is, a couple volunteers wanted to, is that going to be later on you bring those in, or are they going to be able to come in and go and get trained to, at the Dearborn shelter or how is that going to work for the volunteers that want to supplement the crew, I guess is what I'm saying.
We're working on that right now, as a matter of fact. Yeah, we'll put something out asking for volunteers. We've had one that's come forward already.
Right.
And so we're going to, as we move forward, we're going to.
Okay. All right. And last question is, we're going to take them, you said this week or next week?
So our agreement with the city of Taylor ends on January 28th. Okay. So whether it's Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, it's going to be probably one of those 3 days.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
And we will be, as I said, we'll be putting some information out here very shortly.
Will we have to take the animals that we have in Taylor?
No.
Okay. Nothing further for the city manager? Then we will go to our department head reports. We have Ms. Kazoo and Ryan from Hennessy Insurance.
Thank you, John.
This particular report is comprises the last 3 months, because prior to that, I gave you our accomplishments through the past 9 months. So basically, what we've gone through is, during the leaf season, we've basically picked up approximately 4,600 tons of leaves and have transported them to the Taylor Recycling. So for those of you that are into recycling, the DPS did it. We recycled our leaves. They're going to be composted. The water department repaired 13 water main breaks in the last 3 months, 32 residential water service repairs, and repaired and or replaced 8 fire hydrants. We had to go out and mark 853 missed dig marking locations. That's a tremendous amount. The balance of what you see below, and I'm going to try to make it quick also, because it's been not only a long night for you, but a long day for myself with the weather events we went through. City Hall, we've been there 65 times, courthouse 119, fire 28 times doing building issues, library 43 times, police department 108, senior center, band shell 44, DPS and city parks 58 times. We've had, in the motor pool, we've had 149 minor repairs, 35 major repairs, service calls such as oil change 85, road calls 67, streets, we've been sweeping those daily through this leaf process. Street signs replaced 300. Coal patch place, approximately 275 tons. Evictions, we picked up 3. Water and sewer, water department requests, service requests, which are what a citizen would request, somebody to come out and look at their water meter at their home. We had 364. Water shutoffs, 85. And 41 of those were for non-payment. Water turn-on, 79. Catch basins cleaned, 236. Storm sewer jetted, over 22,000 feet. Sanitary sewer jetted, 44,000 feet. Next month, just like this past weekend, next 3 months, be keeping the roadways free and clear of snow and ice. Water department will continue fixing curb stop boxes, emergency water main breaks. Road department will continue to make signs, coal patch. Sewer department will continue with their monthly cleaning program, investigate any storm or sanitary sewer issues. Some of the significant challenges in the last 3 months are trying to dodge the parked cars, illegally parked cars with the street sweepers, sanitary sewer issues, water main breaks, and rain event issues. And in regards to this past weekend snow event, for the record, because I had heard some bad rumors, the city did not run out of salt, did not. The city did go out and salt and plow, and I actually think the department did a fantastic job. And I've heard great comments from a lot of the citizens. Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions? You can ask questions during citizen communications, sir. This is for the council right now.
Well, I just have 2, and it would be directed to you.
Well, I understand, sir. I understand what you're talking about, but you'll have to save that for,
Well, good evening. Looking forward to a busy 2019 here. We got a lot of work coming up here, so just to hopefully be brief here, but we're still working on our $2 million SAW grant sanitary sewer study. We've got until November 30th of this year to finish that and develop an asset management plan for the sanitary sewer system. So we're currently wrapping up the second phase of the cleaning and televising with DVM Utilities. We've televised all the sanitary sewers underneath the major storm drains to see if we have any inflow or infiltration, stormwater coming into the sanitary system. And then we've also televised all the sewers in 2 different neighborhoods. We're currently working in the area north of Seacop between 75 and Fort Street, and then we've finished the neighborhood that's south of Southfield Road over on the east end of town. We're still gonna have quite a bit of money left over in cleaning and televising, so we're looking at a third phase of cleaning and televising here to start up shortly, and we're looking at 2 neighborhoods for that work. One would be everything north of Southfield and west of John Papolis, and then the other area would be in the southwest quadrant of the city, south of LeBlanc and west of Fort Street. So we'll be doing that work in the spring and summer of this year. Those same areas where also our staff is doing inspections of all the manholes, taking note of the condition of the manholes and looking to see if there's any infiltration or inflow coming through those manholes, and if there's any manholes that need to be rehabbed in the future. We've also been doing some smoke testing, and if you're in the southwest quadrant of the city, you may have noticed our crews out there doing the smoke testing, and fortunately, we've smoked out a few residents too doing that work, but we did notify those residents beforehand that we would be out there. And basically, we're looking for any defects that are in the sewer system, and we have found a handful of areas where we found smoke coming through catch basins or through storm manholes, found broken sanitary cleanouts, so we've got rainwater going into those areas, into the sanitary system. We've found in the last couple of years that there's an excessive amount of rainwater coming into the sanitary sewer system on the south end of town based on the flow metering that we've done and the flow coming through the Emmons pump stations. So we're trying to pinpoint those areas so we can try to reduce the amount of infiltration coming into the system. This year we'll also be doing a detailed evaluation of all the pump stations and the retention basin here in the city and putting together an asset management plan for that, as well as updating the operating manuals for those. And we continue to develop the geographic information system database for the sanitary sewer system as well. As part of the SAW grant program, 2 things that are going to come out of that this year. One will be some miscellaneous sewer repairs and the replacement of some bulkheads that have gone missing in the system. We had that out to bid last fall, and unfortunately, we only got 1 bid that came in. And it was a high bid, and I think it was just because of the lateness in the season, construction season. So we're looking to put that back out to bid here next month and hopefully get more bids and better bids for that. And we're gonna add a few locations based on the recent sewer televising that we've done. We're gonna add a few locations where we've got some partially collapsed sewers. And then also, to address many of the structural defects that we found in the sanitary sewer system, we're gonna be looking to submit to the DEQ a project plan to do another sewer rehab program with a state revolving fund loan, and that project plan is due to the DEQ by July 1st of this year. That would look to rehab sewers in the 2020 construction season, so we're just starting to get into the development of that. We go into the road projects. We've just about finished all the road projects from last year. There's still some restoration work that needs to be finished up on the 2 reconstruct projects and some of the sectioning work that was done. Unfortunately, the weather wasn't very cooperative here in the fall. We had a lot of rain in the fall. We weren't able to get things restored in time. They've been able to put topsoil down and compact all the areas, and we're looking at it, maintaining it through the winter, but we'll be coming back in the spring to do the final restoration in those locations. Other than that, we have completed all the road work for 2018. And we've got quite a bit coming up here for 2019. Last month, you had approved the $1.5 million of Act 51 money that we'll be using on road repairs, roughly. We're just about done with the design on that work, actually. The 2 road reconstruction projects I'll probably have completed next week and be ready to put those out to bid here at the first of the month. The asphalt resurfacing program will also be completed here before the end of the month, and then we're in the process of evaluating all the streets that we had for concrete sectioning, so that'll probably be sometime later in February that we'll be ready for that, as long as it doesn't snow and we don't get too much snow. We'll be able to evaluate those streets. And then obviously, we've got the streets that were approved here tonight that we'll start working on the design right away for also, and try to get as much work as we can get ready, so we're ready to go here once the weather breaks. Just to recap from this past year, as far as the concrete sectioning, we also do concrete work where we've had water main breaks, catch basin collapses. So we do that as part of the concrete sectioning program separately, lists them as utility repairs. This past year, we had 164 locations throughout the city where we had those. That number is down from last year. We had 189 last year. Unfortunately, the cost is actually higher this year. We had a lot of locations that were larger than usual. We also had a lot more locations within county and state right-of-ways too, which is a lot more expensive because of traffic control. The state requires us to do that work at night and on weekends, so the cost of that work is a lot more than what's done on the city streets, unfortunately. Other road projects coming up, Mayor and Council is aware that the city has been approved for federal aid assistance to reconstruct River Drive from just south of Ford Boulevard up to Emmons for the 2020 construction season. We'll be starting the design on that here this year so that we can get that over to MDOT for approval this fall and get that started in the spring of next year. We're also going to submit applications again by March 30th to the Federal Aid Committee, same 3 projects that we submitted last year as well, for resurfacing of London west of I-75, Harrison from River Drive over to Wilson, and Champaign from Fort Park to I-75. We'll see where those go, and we're competing with every community except for the city of Detroit. Here in Wayne County, usually about 60 or so projects are submitted, and they approve about 5 to 7 each year, so depending on what's worse. So we'll keep submitting those until we get something on those. We'd also have 2 CDBG projects that we're working on, the sewer lining that was talked about here earlier today, and then we're also reconstructing 4 intersections along Lafayette at the north end of the city, and that's out for bid currently, with a bid opening on January 30th. And the last thing would be, if you recall, the city received a financially distressed grant to do a water main project, basically a redundant water main that we would install parallel to I-75. There's 3 water mains that are no longer in operation under I-75, so in order to get better flow and pressure over to the west side of the city, we're looking at doing this redundant water main, and we should be done with the design on that here within the next week and get that out for permits to the DEQ and hopefully have that under construction here this spring as well. If you have any other questions, I will entertain those.
Thank you, Ryan.
No problem.
Then we'll open it up for citizen communications. Seeing none? No.
Nice try.
Good evening. My name's, my name's Aaron Speck. I'm an attorney. I represent a property owner at 4118 Abbott here in the city. This is more for Lillian Ross's benefit, but I'd like to address this all to council. You know, there's a consistent theme through government, and that is respect for citizens. And as council members, coming to this meeting tonight, I'm impressed. I haven't been to a city council meeting in a long time on behalf of a client or individually, and the respect that was shown tonight compared to meetings that I saw years ago at other locales is remarkable. But in addressing that and talking about respect, I do want to hand a letter out that's been provided to Councilwoman Ross before she was elected, and I want to hand it to all the city council if I could real quick. Okay. It's unfortunate that she's not here tonight to hear the comments on behalf of my client, but as a member of City Council, I believe that the citizens deserve the ultimate respect, and especially when it comes to matters in your own neighborhood. Ms. Ross has demonstrated a complete lack of disrespect for her neighbor at 4130 Abbott Street here in the city by consistently parking her vehicle in front of my client's home, blocking the access in front of the home so that she can't even park her own vehicle in front. I'd asked Ms. Ross in a letter if she would please be courteous and park in such a way in front of my client's home so that she could even park in front of her own residence. Ms. Ross completely disregards that, continues to block my client's ability to park in front of her own home. And there comes a point in time in government where you have to respect your neighbors. It's unfortunate that I believe she knew I was going to be here tonight. I mentioned it to her in a discussion not too long ago on the street at my client's residence. And I just hope that the council would encourage respect by fellow councilwomen and councilmen when it comes to citizens of this community. Citizens should not have to take people to court because of lack of civility. And it's unfortunate that it's come to this, but I'm just going to quote from the city of Rifle, Colorado, when it talks about respect. Demanding respect from each individual through words and actions is the touchstone that can help guide council members to do right things, even in the most difficult situations. I would just ask that this body talk to Ms. Ross about how she's conducting herself outside of these offices and what she is imposing upon her neighbors and the inconvenience that she's putting upon them by the way she conducts her in parks in front of my client's home to block her from using and parking there. Thank you.
Chris Darzinski, resident. The all-day jam is coming up February 23rd, Saturday, VFW Post, 552 1125 4th Street. Again, this is our big fundraiser to support the Memorial Day parade. All proceeds go to the parade. We still need 68 raffle baskets donated so that we can have up to 100 raffle baskets. We still need 20 platters of food donated. Just find me on Facebook or give me a call, 734-775-2267. The all-day jam will be family time, noon until 4 p.m. We'll have kids' music. We're working on a clown and face painting, crafts, games, lots of pizza, lots of hot dogs, everything to make sure that the kid is sugared up and got a lot of carbs so that you can dump them off to the grandparents who will then have fun with them while you come back and rock out with us with the bands from 4 till midnight. We got 3 great bands, including a Santana tribute band that is going to be awesome. And then we're going to have Rudolph Francois Mitchell, longtime volunteer, longtime DJ for us, rocking the tunes, 10:30 to midnight, raffle, baskets 50-50, the whole shebang. Steak dinner at the VFW. The next one is February 2nd. That's Saturday, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m., $10. Best steak you can get in the city. Huge baked potatoes, salad, baked beans, the entire shebang. VFW is having a Super Bowl party February 3rd, 5 p.m. Free food. And let me repeat that. Free food. It's VFW for the Super Bowl party, as we'll watch Tom Brady again grind all competition into the ground. So, if you're a Patriots fan, that is. So, which I am. And cash bar. Raffle baskets, we still do that. The Economic Development Corporation, their meetings, their meeting is the second Tuesday in February. That's February 12th, Tuesday, 6 p.m. in the council chambers. Talking to Giles Tucker, the EDC is going to be the steering committee that is going to help oversee the city plan that'll be put together and submitted along with the contractor Beckett and Rader. If this is as good as time as any for everybody that has complained and moaned and groaned about what's going into Sears, that area there, if you want to be part of this process in a positive, proactive way, the way I put it out on Facebook, positive, proactive, come to these meetings, be involved, come prepared though, research what you want to submit as far as ideas. Don't come and say that we want a Ruby Tuesdays. Don't. We think seriously about that huge area and what's going to benefit and make us a destination city. So please come to these EDC meetings. I've been to them over the years, and I've been the only one there. This is an important board, and if you're not going to attend the meetings, then why do we even have the board? I don't mean to put it that way, but This is a grand opportunity to be involved. This is the only area left in the city where we can do big development. Let's do it right. Let's be Destination Lincoln Park, which I've been advocating since 2011. On to the next person. Thank you, Mayor.
Sean Stansberry again. I guess I want to start off with the recycling a little bit. It's funny how people want recycling, but the process completely pollutes the whole world. I know, Larry talked about it tonight, and I've talked about it many a times, and Chris talked about it tonight. The process, the coal that you use to have electricity, the diesel fuel to get the stuff there, I wish it was a process that didn't cost a lot of money, that we could actually do this stuff and recycle it, and it benefit everybody. But this is just, to me, is a no-brainer. If we implement this, it's going to be a big mistake. And then what's going to happen is, I've been reading a lot of articles, and I gave out literature to everybody. Cities are opting out of it that are in it because the fees are going up sometimes tenfold of what they were when they initially started. And they have to opt out because no one wants it. The city can't do it, and the citizens don't want it. So I think it's really stupid that when we talk about this stuff, we don't look at the whole picture. So, and also on that, through the chair, is the council going to be visiting a MERV center where they sort, clean, and hold the stuff? Or are they going to a recycling center where they repurpose material?
I don't know what center is going to be, Mr. Council.
It's a MERV. Okay, MERV center. We're going to go to a MERV center to look at where they stack the stuff. GFL told me, once it goes to the MERV center, it's not our responsibility. So we're going to go to a MERV center to look at stuff being cleaned, stacked, and held there for a market that's not there. So if you think you're going to go and gain a lot of, stuff on this, doing that, I think that's a real big mistake. And people need to realize that. You're not going to a recycling center. If you think that the EPA in this country is going to let us build recycling centers to recycle the product, people have got another thing coming, because it pollutes the earth, air, and the water when they have these. Like Larry said, what do you think China got out of it? They're polluting everything. People's health were, going. It was crazy. So I just hope that people realize that we're not going to a recycling center. We're going to a MERV center. There's a big difference between the two. So I don't know why that's going to make a difference. Actually, it should make a difference that we don't do it. So maybe that will do that. As far as the animal shelter goes, I know we talked about volunteers a little bit tonight. I volunteer at the Wyandotte Animal Shelter, and I know volunteers are the backbone of the shelter. I mean, there's a lot of things involved, but if you don't have good volunteers and you don't have a lot of them, dedicated people, it's not going to work. I don't care how many animal control people and how many part-time people we have. I know we're just starting off, but we need to really look at that, and I know your wife, Larry, Kathy wants to volunteer, which is a great thing, but, it's a big thing. And then I've talked to Matt before, we need to have fundraisers to raise money for the shelter, because all the costs are going to be incurred, it's got to be part of it. So I'm going to move real quick. Everybody keep your animals inside. I know it's going to get warm for a couple days, but we've had some really bad weather, so it's very important. And I'd like to thank all the city officials for what they do to keep our city going every day, and a special thanks to the DPS, police, and fire for being out there in the weather to serve our city. That takes a lot right there. As far as department head salaries go, my opinion is someone like John Gazoo or Lisa Griggs should be making more money than Doreen. And nothing against Doreen, she does great things for the city, but for what they do, I don't think Doreen should be up where they're at as far as their salary. That's my own opinion. And I don't know if anybody knows, we've been putting out no parking signs out. I don't know if the mayor's told anybody or the city manager, but I've noticed the city's been putting no parking signs out on some of the streets where hasn't been any. And I don't know if that's because people have been getting tickets and there was no signs there, but I just wanted to put that out there. So, and you heard anything about that, Mr. Mayor, or?
Just that Mr. Kazoo in his report said that they put out 300 signs.
Okay. I just didn't know if anybody knew that in the city. I know that he said it, but just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that, so,
Part of the yearly replacement, I would imagine.
okay. All right, and that's all I have tonight. Thanks.
Hi, Leslie Lynch Wilson, Lincoln Park Preservation Alliance. Hey, we're having a winter party on Sunday, January 27th, 2 to 4 p.m. at the Icarus Hall. That's a small hall next to Park Restaurant. We'd like to invite everyone for an afternoon of socializing, celebrating Lincoln Park's historic buildings. We'll have some appetizers, refreshments, and lots of fun learning about what we'll offer for 2019, as well as updates for our goals for 2019. We'd love to have you join us. This will include time to meet and greet some fellow preservationists, come and enjoy an afternoon with us and make some new friends. About the City Hall windows, I hope that the architect at Hennessy Engineers will take into consideration the historic architecture and significance of City Hall. That being said, it's important to preserve as many of the historic features as possible. I'd like to I would hope that the bid information will go to the following companies. These are recommendations from Dan Schneider, who is a historic preservation architect we've worked with at Newman Smith Architecture. Blackberry Window and Door in Kalamazoo, North Coast Window Works in Kalamazoo, Building Hugger, Detroit, and then Dan says that both Pella and Anderson also have good commercial products. Thank you.
Good evening, Joyce Murray, lifelong resident. On our Residents of Lincoln Park page, we have 926 members so far, so we're only at like 7-8 months in, and we're still growing, so that's awesome that we're almost at the 1,000 member mark. And I wanted to put out there thanks to John and your staff for clearing our roads. Great job. I did go out Monday, drive around, excuse me, because there were some residents saying that their streets had not been done yet, but everything seemed to be done. It's just they were confusing people parking and not being able to get that done. So we were able to kind of address that concern so the city didn't get those phone calls. So thank you and your staff. Make sure they know if they're watching. Thank you. And want to thank Councilman Parkinson. He got me in contact with Sam from GFL. We had a lot of garbage complaints last week. Over 60 different issues. So I was able to speak with him and let him know what the common issues were and kind of pinpoint some areas. He also had a member of his route management staff reach out to me so I could go over them with him also. And then Julie from the DPS reached out to me as well. So we've got proactive involvement from the city, from GFL. They really want to get these issues resolved, whether it be a training issue, an educational issue. So we do have great resources to reach out to. I want to thank the city council for, being there as resources as well and pointing us in the right direction. And about the animal ordinance, some members did see it, that was on the agenda today. So I'm glad that, we're making some changes. There was a suggestion that maybe next time it go up for review or what may be the case, consider maybe upping it to 3 animals rather than 2, so you could have 3 dogs. There are a lot of people in the city that already have 3 animals, just nobody ever enforces it. And they seem to be very responsible animal owners. So maybe if there was a stipulation there where you could have a 3rd animal for an extra fee, that might be something to consider the next time we review the ordinance. I would be for that. And, those that do have the 3 are very responsible animal owners. So keep that in mind as well. And that's all that I have for tonight. So thank you to DPS, police, fire, and have a good night.
Seeing no one else approaching, we'll move on to oral reports of the council and mayor. Council President Breeding.
My condolences go out to Chief Duncan's family. Chief Duncan hired me 150 years ago, in 1972. as the meter maid. Super guy. He and his wife, and they're just lovely people. And we were very fortunate to have him as the chief of police and a continued citizen, unlike so many of our people. They retire and they move someplace else. Nope, they were Lincoln Parkers all the way. And so again, he lived a long life and a good life, and I really appreciated the friendship that we had established through the years. I also want to thank the DPS. They did a fine job. Again, we had to reshovel or whatever our driveway approach, but that's a small little thing you have to do to, to maneuver around the city or whatever else. But they did a fine job in my neighborhood, so I want to thank you. That's all.
Councilman Salcido.
Yes, just two items. Just to be clear, the reason for my hesitation on voting to table the recycling situation is last Friday I received an email to go visit the recycling center, and also an email today in regards to that. Then when I picked up my packet today, I noticed that the vote was going to be today. So here I'm anticipating to go to the recycling center to maybe enlighten myself some more, and it came up, so that was one of the reasons. And also on Sunday, I was at the Fraternal Order of Eagles. The Lincoln Park Marching Band had a fundraiser. It was $1 for a cup of soup. It was real nice. I know I met Jason there. He didn't buy me a cup of soup, but it was still a good time for all. It was a good crowd, and always trying to support the Lincoln Park Marching Rails. Thank you.
Councilman Kelsey.
Yes, just a quick thing. I'd like to congratulate Deputy Chief Klakovich on his promotion. And of course, ex-Deputy Chief Lavis on his retirement. And I would hope that Deputy Chief Klakovich, working as many years as he's in, has probably seen how Joe handles things, and he did a very good job. And I would sure that'll happen with the new Deputy Chief. That's all, Your Honor.
Oh. Councilman Parkinson.
Thank you. I'd also like to have condolences for Chief Duncan. I actually grew up, he lived in the neighborhood. I played Little League with his son, so I mean, they were fairly close when I was younger. They were great people then, and they were still great people now. You were talking about bringing more in-house, Don, or Matt? Trying to change your name. I'd like to bring as much possible back in-house, because I think people in-house do a lot better job. The bad conditions for the roads, people are complaining about the roads, they're salting and not plowing. There wasn't enough to plow to begin with, and they were salting. Well, that salt doesn't get plowed off the road. It goes down and makes a brine and stays on the road. So when you plow the snow off, it doesn't have glare ice. So there's method to their madness. They're not just wasting your time. It is cold, so I'd like you to watch for your neighbors, your children, your seniors, and make sure there's no problems. And also make sure anybody has complaints or problems with the neighbor's animals, please call, because animals get cold too and they freeze. Sam from GFL, I talked to him, and he's also monitoring the residence site, so he can pick up the complaints on that site as fast as we do. That's all I have tonight, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Now, these little caps that we have, as we're talking about recycling, as the school project with the Excel Club in Lincoln Park had put forward, that if you take a certain number of these, there's a company that is in Indianapolis that will convert these into a bench. All you do is deliver it to them at the school. So put the word out to the school and around every place, and there's 35,560 of these there's make up 400 pounds, which will result in a bench, so to speak. And people have rallied around and have done this to we're the point where I'm going to be weighing them next week, but we have probably enough for 3 or 4 benches as it goes. People want to recycle. We have an obligation to that. It's been on the books since I've been mayor, 5 years, that there will be recycling. that there will be. Now, you have the second part of this water bottle that I brought with me. When we throw it in the trash here, it's a question of not what's going to happen. Well, this is going to the landfill over in Riverview, and we're paying for that to go to the landfill in Riverview. Okay, if we go and we send this over to the recycling plant, if 60% get used, then that's 60% that we saved. I would like it to be 100%. It's my firm belief as mayor of this town that the citizens want us to have curbside recycling. It's been my goal for that time period. To do anything else is ludicrous and in my mind criminal. So with that, if entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
Clerk, call the roll.
Councilperson Salcido?
Yes.
Parkinson?
Yes.
Breeding? Kelsey?
Yes.
And Mayor Carnes?
Yes.